Hi. First off, I just wanted to thank everyone for the support I got from my last video. I really appreciate it. Had a lot of guys and girls and kind of come out to me as addicts as well, and not even all of them had the same addiction I had or even the same problem. I'm happy to help. Like I said, I don't know that I'm a great resource. I'm just some guy, but I'm happy to help in the ways that I can. When my friends and family came out to me as addicts, it first made me happy that, hey, I'm not alone. But then it also made me sad, because these were some of my very best friends, some of them, and my close family members that were going through the same thing at the same time as me, and yet we all did it alone. I don't know. I wish there was a way to help them so that they're not alone, without all the shame that seems to be so involved with it. I don't know. If you think of anything, let me know. I'm trying to think of something. But again, thank you all for your help. Really appreciate it. Really was a huge boost in confidence. In fact, that night I couldn't even sleep. I was so filled with gratitude that I just had to get up, and I couldn't sleep that night. But sleep well lost. Thanks. Today I wanted to share my first ayahuasca ceremony with you and tell you what my experience was, as I said I would. So what happens is you're in this sanctuary. We're all kind of together, mixed as friends. We just kind of chat and read all day and relax. And then at night, as the sun starts to go down, we look for a candle in the main hut. When the candle's lit, we know there's about 40 minutes until the ceremony starts. So that night, we see the candle lit. We all go, we pick a little pad to sit on, lay on, whatever, and we wait for the shamans to show up. And when they show up, they take us all individually, give us a cup of ayahuasca, and then we sit on our mats. They blow out the candle. It's pitch dark, and then we wait. As the medicine starts to take effect, they start singing. At first I thought the singing would be distracting, but in the end, it was able to kind of ground you, because sometimes you're so out there, and to hear them singing kind of brings you back, so you're able to realize, like, oh, I'm here, but I'm also there. So every time you go to an ayahuasca ceremony, I highly recommend that you go in with an intention, not an expectation. Go in with an intention of something you'd like to work on, or whatever. Sometimes it's really simple. For me, I had 3 intentions on my whole trip, and I just decided to do them all in that one ceremony and see what happened. My 3 intentions were, how can I be most happy? How can I love myself? And how can I eliminate my addiction? And I kept repeating those to myself after I took the ayahuasca, hoping that something would come in, stick in my head. And the shaman had this blue flashlight, just like a blue 1 LED, just so it wasn't super distracting. It wasn't so bright when he turned it on. And when it started taking effect, I saw that blue flashlight, and I thought, oh, why'd he turn it on? That's weird. And then it started dancing around the room, and I went, oh, okay, it's starting. And I just couldn't stop smiling. I've never done drugs. I've never smoked a cigarette. I've never drunk alcohol. I've never done any of this stuff. And so this is my first experience with any sort of drug. I don't know. It made me really happy and really grateful, and I just couldn't stop smiling, and I was laughing. As it started taking effect, I decided I wanted to see all of my siblings while under the effects of ayahuasca. So one by one, I have a lot of siblings. I have 8 siblings. I went through all my siblings one by one and just looked at them. I was able to give them each a little time in my vision, and really gave me respect and love for them. And I was able to see them without, all the life stuff that we throw in there, all the judgment and the whatever. And I got excited as I decided I wanted to see my brother Mike. I have a brother Mike, who passed away when he was 15, when I was 10, of suicide. It's always been, as you can imagine, an emotional topic for my family. And I was excited to get to him because I was sure I was going to see something profound with him. And when I finally got to Mike, I couldn't grasp him. There wasn't much. And that wrecked me. I started bawling like a baby. And I tried for so long. In fact, I skipped him for a minute. I said, okay, I'll go back to my younger siblings, and then I'll come back to Mike. And when I came back to him still, I just couldn't get a firm grasp on him at all. I could see him. I could kind of feel him, but I couldn't get a solid grasp on him. Oh, and it made me so sad. I just started bawling. And I spent a lot of time on him. I just kept trying to push it through to just get something, and it wouldn't happen. And in the end, I had to just tell him, Mike, I love you, and I'm sorry we didn't get more time together. And I let him go. It was a big deal. I think some of us get kind of stuck on him a little bit. Anyway, I let him go. It really sucked. Then I just had to continue on with my vision. And I wanted something to be shown to me, to just, Mother Ayahuasca, as they call her. Mother Ayahuasca is the person who kind of represents ayahuasca, and some people see her in their visions a lot. So if I refer to her, I never actually had an experience with her, but if I speak of her, it's just kind of the drug letting me know, or an impression I got while taking this medicine. I thought Mother Ayahuasca was going to show me a vision, put a TV screen in front of my face and turn it on. And it wasn't happening. I was just kind of seeing designs and patterns and stuff. And so I thought, well, maybe I can kind of help it, because I've always been a vivid dreamer. So I thought, well, maybe I can kind of push it along like I do my dreams. And so I did. And at first that kind of made me disappointed. But I found that, I was kind of able to kind of help my visions and push them along. But when I came to big conclusions, like the big lessons to be learned, those completely surprised me, and honestly, I don't think they were me. It's not something I would have come up with, but who knows? So I started into my vision. I pushed through, and I saw a giant skeleton of a ladybug. It's kind of bones and bluish white light, and it was on its back. And I flew down to its belly, landed on its belly, and there was a spiral staircase that went down. So I went down until I got to the base of his shell, and then suddenly my floor turned to grass. And I looked up and I was staring at my apricot tree, and I went, oh, I'm in my backyard. I love my backyard. So I turned around to look at my house, and where my house was, there was a giant mound of red meat. And just a warning, some of the things in my vision are kind of gross, but in the vision, they weren't gross. Sometimes they made me sad, but they didn't gross me out. It was just reality as it is. It was just kind of real, even though it was kind of gross. Anyway, so I see this giant heap of red meat where my house should be, and I go up to it and go, what is this? And I'm looking around, and I realize, oh, it's an organ of some kind. And I'm like, what is it? Liver, lungs, and I realize, oh, it's my heart. And so I walk around my heart, this giant heart where my home is supposed to be. My heart is my home. And I see like a valve, like an aorta just kind of flopped on the ground. And it's large because it's a large heart. And I decide, I'll go in. So I crawl through this aorta. And I remember the thought, and I was like, I bet this is kind of like what it's like to be born. And I go into the heart, and there's this big, open, kind of cavern, but it's meaty, The sides are like veins and red meat and, like fat lines and stuff like that. Just this meat room. And I look up, and near the ceiling, there's it's a purple glowing light, like at the ceiling. And I realized, oh, I need to get up there. And I looked to the side on the walls, and there's a staircase that kind of goes around the room in a circular pattern all the way up to the top. And I go, okay, I'll follow the stairs. So I start walking up the stairs, and as I get near the top, the steps start getting dirty. Some of the steps have things mixed into the meat of the steps. I remember one of the steps was typewriter parts. I don't know why. You know, just kind of black, oily metal rod thingies for typewriters. And I went, oh, okay, that's weird. The next step was like dirty, like garbage and Q-tips, just gross. And I realized, ugh, my heart's kind of dirty. And it made me sad. And my next step was dirty, just profane things. Each step was made of more and more profane, just gross things that have to do with pornography, my addiction. And I won't go into the details because they're gross, but I had to step on each one. And each one just made me sad. I said, these things, my habits, my addiction, is making my heart dirty. My heart is not pure because of these things. And it just made me really, really sad. The last step was the grossest of all the steps. Had to step on it. Again, I wasn't grossed out. I was sad. I was sad that I had allowed my heart to get so dirty with all these things. Anyway, after that last terrible step, there was a ramp of, like flesh, and it was super slippery, and I kind of sinked into it like you're on a trampoline, you step on it, you kind of sink in, and I'm trying to work my way up this ramp, even though it's slippery, because I don't want to fall back into those gross top steps. So I'm trying my hardest. I saw a tear in the meat, and I grabbed it, but I knew I couldn't put much weight on it, or else it would rip and I would fall, so I had to be really careful. And after I got past that slippery meat, the meat kind of turned dry, like jerky. Again, this made me sad because it was, my heart was dirty. My heart was impure. It was unhealthy. So I crawl up this jerky tunnel. The jerky meat turns into stone. I'm crawling on this cold stone. And it was like an incline like this. And I went from climbing on stone on an incline to being a 90-degree angle. So I'm rock climbing up this wall. And I finally get out. I exit this hole in the ground. And I just see cobblestone as far as I can see. Turn around, cobblestone as far as I can see. And I'm looking for some sort of sign. Which way should I go? But I don't see anything. So I just decided, I guess I'll just walk. So I just started walking randomly, and I walked for a while until I got to a big black ribbon. I don't know how else to explain it, but it was like this sheet metal. It was black sheet metal as tall as me. It was just thin. It was just sheet metal, but I couldn't get past it. I could kind of push on it. It would kind of move. It was sheet metal. And I looked to my left, and it went as far as I could see, and it went to my right, and it went as far as I could see. And I just decided, okay, I guess I'll just follow it one of these directions. And right as I did that, it's like my camera panned up, and I had a different perspective, and I was looking down on myself from up above. And I could see that the black metal ribbon formed an S. And I was inside the S. And I was looking at it, and I realized the S is me. Well, kind of. The expanse of cobblestones, that's me. And there's so much of me, but I only let the world see what's in the S. And the S is me, the me I allow others to see. And I got this message that I needed to come out to the world, admit to the world that I am an addict, that I am addicted to pornography. Which my wife and I talked about this before I left, and I said, absolutely no, never. That's one thing I'm not willing to do. I don't want to deal with the judgment I don't think I could live with myself knowing that everybody knows that. So it's my greatest fear. And then Mother Ayahuasca lets me know, oh, hey, you need to do that. That's the only way you'll truly be happy. Because I'm editing myself so much, and I'm only letting the world see so much of me, and that's partially what's making me unhappy. It's because I'm not allowing myself to be honest with myself and with the world. And I went, oh, all right. So, those of you that saw my first video, that's why I did it. Ayahuasca told me that I needed to do it. Once I kind of accepted that that was something I had to do, I became a tree in that S. And I just started growing. I started shooting my roots out, and I started filling every little pocket of that S. And I started pushing on the sides of that metal ribbon and pushing them out. And it got to the point where this S, I had pushed out all the sides so that it was now kind of shaped like this. So now it was like this, and I was just growing my roots and pushing more, putting more pressure on the wall, and I'm just pushing, and I'm pushing, and I'm pushing. And I said, I'm going to break this shield. I'm going to show the world who I really am. I'm going to break this ribbon, and I'm just going to be free and show the world who I really am. And then Mother Ayahuasca told me, she said, no, I'm not going to let you do that. And I was like, why? I want to break this ribbon. And she said, that's too easy. If I let you do that, then you'll think you've done it. You'll think that you did it. You have conquered that beast, and then you won't be able to do it in real life. So she told me, you have to actually do this. You have to actually expose yourself to the world as an addict, as a weak person. Or a person who has weaknesses. She said, I'm not going to let you do it in this dream because you need to actually do it. And I went, oh. And right as I accepted that, part of the metal ribbon split. And then it went black. So I started breaking that wall, and then the vision stopped, just went black. So that's why I had to make that first video. And honestly, I mean, it's only been a couple days, but it's been freeing. It's been helpful. And now I guess I've broken the wall, or I've started to, and I can start being honest with myself and with the world. My next vision, after that, I had a vision where I saw a moth, a giant moth, those big ones are like that big. And it landed on my hand, and it crawled up to my shoulder, and I'm just watching it, and then it crawled to my forearm, and then it grew as big as my forearm, and then it wrapped its arms around my arm, and it pushed its legs into my flesh and ripped my skin and just pushed its legs into my flesh, and then my skin healed over its legs. And after that happened, the moth looked at me and said, I'll never leave. And then I realized, as I kind of just inspected this moth, that he was the purest creature I'd ever seen. I realized he had no gender, that his eyes could see in every direction, and that if I pointed him at things, I could see what he saw, and he loved everything. So it was all judgment aside, it was just, I love this thing. So whatever I pointed it at. So I pointed it at each person in the circle, and I think there was like 8 of us or something. I pointed it at each person, and each of them glowed with like fluorescent light. Most of them were green. I don't know how to explain it, but just super bright green fluorescent light. And I pointed it at each person in the circle, and the moth just showed me how much he loved that person each time I did it. And then I thought, oh, well, I'll point it at myself, and I kind of went like that, and I got so embarrassed because he totally saw me, and he just loved the hell out of me. And it made me, like I said, it made me embarrassed, and I actually ended up apologizing to the moth. I said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm kind of fat right now because I've kind of let myself go in the last year or two. And so I told him I was sorry that I was fat, and he said, are you kidding me? I love you. And that fat is part of you, therefore I love your fat too. I love you. And I went, oh, all right. And it was a weird feeling because I've never seen myself in that context. And like I said, one of my intentions was, how do I love myself? And this moth gave me the ability to look at myself as just with pure love, without any judgment, just he loved me to death. And I've never seen myself without all those filters on. And he just showed me how great I was, and how much he loved me because of who I was. Then, after that, I was looking at my moth again, and I realized he had powder all over him. He said, oh, the powder lets the water just slide off me, because if the water gets on me, it makes me heavy and I can't fly. And he said, here, have some. And he shook, and all this powder went in the air, and I just kind of gathered it and just started wiping it all over my whole body. I was wiping this powder all over my whole body. And I realized that I cared so much about what people thought, that their thoughts were making me heavy. And they weren't allowing me to fly. So he gave me this powder and said, you need to just let those thoughts just slide off of you. That way they can't make you heavy, and you can fly. Kind of cool. After that, I didn't have any solid visions, but I did see a symbol that represented Mother Ayahuasca. I didn't see Mother Ayahuasca like some people do, but I did see something that kind of represented her. That was the symbol right there. Hopefully you can see that. So as you can see, it was kind of a woman's shape, and she was wearing a cloak, and her head was so bright. And I just kind of looked at that symbol for a long time, and it was multicolored, just rainbow prismatic colored. And I just looked at it for a while, and just I knew that that's what represents Mother Ayahuasca for me in this vision. Anyway, that was about it. After the ceremony was over, the shamans, they'll bless you, and they'll kind of wave these leaves over your head, and they'll sing a song straight to you. Meanwhile, this whole vision, they're always singing. And then they just leave. And we would usually light a candle, and we'd all kind of huddle up, and we'd talk about what we saw and how we felt. And it was just really cool. Everyone had a different experience. Everyone. They didn't see the same things, obviously. Some people just laid there and felt good for 4 hours. And I know a lot of people don't have visions their first time they do ayahuasca, but I was fortunate enough to see some real vivid visions, and some that were super, super meaningful to me. And so of my 3 intentions, I had, how can I be most happy? My moth allowed me to see myself in pure love, and he gave me that powder and let me realize that I care too much about what people think, and I need to let their thoughts just slide off me, and because they weigh me down. And then, how do I love myself? And again, my moth showed me that I'm a person worth loving. Oh, and of course, I was told that I needed to come out as an addict, and that would make me happy. Again, every intention was met. How to be happy, how to love myself, how to eliminate my addiction. Every one of those was met. I don't know that it was solved, but I was shown really powerful visions that hit every intention. Blew me away. I don't know what I was expecting. Again, I don't have any experience with drugs, so this was my first experience. I think it's really helped me to be happy. It's helped me to not care about so much what people think, and it's helped me with my addiction. I really believe that. Again, it's only been a few weeks since I've been home from Peru, but I can tell I'm better. Not cured, but I'm better. Feel free to ask me any questions. I'm happy to share. But that was my vision, and it was really positive for me, and it really helped me. Thanks for listening.